This isn't going to be one of those videos where I get mad and I'm going to try to keep it short. So I hope you guys enjoy it, or at least learn something from it. The United States House of Representatives just passed a measure 412-1 that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. What does this mean? Why should you care about it? Let's talk about it for a bit. It's impossible to have an understanding of this and know what the context of this is without understanding what Zionism is. So let's talk about that. What is Zionism? Zionism as an idea was started in the 1800s, and the core idea of Zionism is return, and that Jewish people should be able to return to Israel and return to the Holy Land. And I agree with that. I think that that's okay and that Jewish people should be able to live in Israel. So in that regard, I would be a Zionist. But it's impossible to talk about Israel and to talk about Zionism without talking about what Zionism is doing in the world today and what Zionism represents today. Because the Zionism of the 1880s is not the Zionism of the 2020s. The reality is that in the present Zionist coalition or Zionist movement, the effort to create Israel has been the effort to create an exclusively Jewish state at the expense and disenfranchisement of the Arab people and the Muslim people living in the region. That's just been the reality of it. If you look at what happened in 1948 with the Nakba, if you look at what's been happening for the last 70 years, with forcing people to live in, frankly, abhorrent conditions in Gaza, and if you look at what's been happening in the last month and a half, or going on 2 months since October 7th, the effort to create Israel and the project of Israel has been to expel Arab and Muslim people from the region into other countries like Egypt, Jordan, and Lebanon. And I am okay with the idea of Israel being a multi-ethnic, multi-racial state where people who are Jewish and Muslim and Christian are able to live their lives and go about their lives in peace. I think that that's something that's worth pursuing. But I don't support the idea of Israel being an exclusively Jewish state because historically, the majority of people who have lived there have not been Jewish. Up until about 70 years ago, it was less than 10% of the population that were Jewish in Palestine, or historic Palestine. And a lot of the people who support Zionism and are part of the Zionist cause don't particularly care for Jewish people. If you look at what I believe his name is John Hagee, he spoke at the March for Israel about 2 weeks ago, and he has in the past said things like Hitler was sent by God to bring the Jews back to Israel. I think that's pretty bad. I think that's pretty anti-Semitic. Donald Trump supports Israel. Donald Trump is a Zionist, and very recently, I think earlier this year, he spoke during a rally about how U.S. Jews need to get their shit together. And that's kind of dangerous language and pretty irresponsible language. Something that I forgot to mention in the moment is that it's not just the Jewish people need to get their shit together comment. Trump has recently spent a good deal of time talking about vermin and cleansing America of vermin and communists and people who hate the country. That's really fucking dangerous. Keep an eye on that. And a lot of the people who support Israel and who are Zionist are participating in things that endanger Jewish people globally. Like, not just in Israel, like Jewish people in America, Jewish people in Europe, Jewish people living in other Arab states in the region. But getting back to the topic of this video, what does this mean? What is the significance of this? This doesn't matter very much. This is pretty much just a litmus test. This is pretty similar to the measure that the House passed earlier this year, condemning the horrors of socialism. It's basically just election fodder and an effort to shore up support for an ideological position, which has the ideological position of the U.S. government. It doesn't matter that much. But remember, when people are talking about Zionism, remember that Zionism is doing this, and Zionism is doing this. Thanks. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.